we'll just say, well, here, let's go ahead and take 2020, account for it later, figure out later. Might put
Call the meeting to order.
next to control.
Record reflect all council members present. We will move into our department report, starting with code. Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just going over some highlights from the January period of this year. Under the statistics, we have total permits written of 32, about $18,500 collected per permit. We had 9 new businesses get their business licenses, about 4 had closed. The only major projects we have ongoing right now is the Minerva expansion of their warehousing facility and a Burger King going in front of the Walmart shopping center. We are mailing out invoices for 2016 business licenses and receiving and processing plans for review. The city marshal wrote 58 repair cleanup orders, and we investigated 8 utility tampering and theft cases, wrote 6 citations, and represented the city in municipal court. And of course, the planning commission heard the request for the de-annexation, which went through in our last council meeting. If you have any questions about the balance of the report, I'd be glad to answer for you.
The thing works.
Okay. Electric telecom.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me.
Usage was very much in line with last year, and with electric, percentage of cost being fixed is a little over, right at 80%. The one good thing I really want to point out is we have cut system loss from a little over 6% to 5.16%, which is well below the industry standard. Industry standard runs at around 6.75 to 7.5%. And I'm real happy with that move. Telecommunications usage is about the same as it's been for the past several months, with streaming picking up our total load going to the top, which is where YouTube and Netflix are located. Just want to remind y'all, next week we will do CATV changes on the 9th. The night of the 9th, we'll wake up the morning of the 12th, the morning of the 10th with, it might feel like the morning of the 12th to me by the time that whole night's over. Get with all your new channels. Number 2 thing I want to mention is the PCA. The PCA is the variable cost of our electric rate. We starting with March's bills due to wholesale rates stabilizing and us being able to hold our costs down. We're going to be able to roll that back almost a half a cent, which is the first time in several years we've been able to do that. We are working with possible connections with Williams Telco up here at the Williams Transco pipeline on Pipeline Road, which could be good for both of us. I'm not sure where that's going to go right now, but I'm in negotiations, just talks with them right now. We've had multiple denial of service attacks over the past several weeks. Most of them we've handled without customers or any of y'all noticing. Justin Milligan and Mike have worked real hard to figure out where those are going, and we figured out a way to find the target, and that's been a very good deal for us to be able to find out which customer is being targeted, so we can resolve those issues quickly. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Well, you just clarify on the cable TV upgrade that you're doing.
Yes, sir.
The night of the night, 10th.
The night of the night, all the channel numbers have changed. It's been in the paper. The letter will hit the people's hands. The contractor tells me by Monday, or Sunday or Monday, sometime this weekend. It has the whole channel lineup. The channel lineup is on our website. It's basically we're changing everything to digital, compressing down to get a higher quality and more channels to the customer.
And the one that have the DVR box.
The one that have the DVR box, it'll be fixed by that night. All that should roll in that night. If we have a problem with it, that will be the problem, is the DVR. The rest of it we've already tested. We had Comcast Spotlight, who does the ad insertions, local ad insertions. They were there today, along with a contracted engineer. And we did a lot of testing today, and all that worked perfectly. But the one thing we cannot test ahead of time is the DVR box. It either works that night, or we work till we get it fixed. And by working, I mean the channel assignments might be messed up until we get that straight.
The people that don't have the DVR box, they have to reprogram their TV.
Reprogram their TVs, and that's been in the ad, and we're gonna take a lot of calls, and y'all will probably get some calls from residents that either don't read the letter we send them, don't read Channel 16, or don't read the paper. That's gonna happen, I understand that. I don't read a lot of the letters that I get from utility companies that I do business with. So I understand that. We're gonna have our people in the call center, but I'm also gonna staff up with some of our guys from the cable TV side to be able to answer questions for me those next couple of days. We've got, any of y'all looked at Channel 60 we put on as a test? We have 61 through 12 that we've been running as a test to be able to add insert. I sent y'all an email a week or two ago, but you'll see there's 12 or 13 channels on there right now, and the image looks great compared to our regular analog image.
Any other questions, Mr. Thompson? Thank you.
Thank you.
Finance.
All right, thank you. Before we get started on this, just want to update you where we're at on the 2015 audit. We've just completed 2 weeks of field work. It's gone very smoothly thus far. And our process is we'll be preparing draft financials over the next couple of weeks. From there, we'll be working on the CAFR document, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. That takes another several weeks to put that big document together. And why this process takes so long is, so that we can provide a high quality level of financial statements to the citizens and to you all. And what this is used for, a variety of things. Economic development, large businesses will want to review the CAFR document in detail. Financial rating agencies take a look at that behind the scenes. So, it's a very thorough process. And it does take a while to get our 2015 year-end final numbers, but that's just the process. So I just want to update you on that. Shifting over to the call center, just an update there. We have a new after-hours company, Interactive Utility Communications. They just started. Brian and the CSR staff have been working very diligently on that. So between the new after-hours call center and our full staffing that we talked about at the last meeting, the call center, hopefully we'll see a higher level of service, and which will come in handy, I assume, as we get more of these cable TV calls soon. So things are looking good there. If we go ahead and get to the performance indicators portion that you have before you, hitting a couple of highlights. One good thing that we're seeing is some growth on our water customers. We have 184 new customers from the previous month for water and 107 for wastewater. So that's a good thing that we're seeing there on our utility billing side. Internet customers are increasing as well. So we're seeing some positive growth there. 306 customers added since last January. We'll shift over to the financial report here. Total cash balance is about $26.5 million between the general fund, special revenue funds, and enterprise funds. Just hitting some other highlights here. General fund, total revenue 7.5%, outpacing our expenses by 6% there. So it's always good to be ahead of the game. Utilities, same there. Revenues are outpacing our expenses thus far. And same for solid waste. Revenues well ahead of our expenses. We have 8.5% revenues versus our total expenses of 3.27%. And that's comparing actual to budget. So really early in the year, but so far everything is looking good and right where we want it to be. Lots saw a nice increase from the prior month, 20% up. That's a lot of those Christmas remittances that we talked about. So they came in very strong. Local option sales tax is up 14% over the budget for the year, but we're only 1 month into it. So hopefully that trend will hold for us as well. Be glad to take any questions you have on the report.
Thank you, Logan. Fire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My department handled 189 calls for service, had 171 calls to the fire department. 126 of those calls were med assist type calls or EMS related. Had 7 fires that did about $2,900 worth of damage to the properties. I hope each of you got your invitation. They'll have the retirees supper, dates on the invitation. There's supposed to be some kind of world-renowned speaker there, so I don't know if that's a good indication or a bad, but I hope all y'all can make it. Opinion your questions.
Okay, Police Department.
Police Department handled 4,323 events or calls for service. Had 1,397 calls to the PD, 169 court cases, conducted 228 hours of training, had 63 Part 1 crimes, 145 Part 2 crimes, arrested 95 adults, 11 juveniles. You can see the public relations events. Any your questions?
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Solid Waste. Dana.
Thank you, Mayor. Our stats for January, we collected 423 tons of commercial waste, residential side close to 490 tons of waste, 80 tons of recycling, and that number is a combination of yard trimmings, curbside collection, cardboard, scrap metal, and scrap tires. We collected close to 6 tons of scrap tires. That's pretty much it. I take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dan. Streets and Transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Highlight report for the month of January. We rented out the community building 6 times. Our fleet maintenance division completed 67 units of work for the month. Grounds crew picked up around 1,600 pounds of litter throughout the streets and are getting started on the cutting cycles at various locations throughout the city. The street division performed 11 asphalt patches and some work in the parking lot of the library, and installed 60 feet of stormwater pipe and 500 feet of ditch maintenance. If you've been down Spring Street lately, you've seen some equipment right in front of the library. There's a major stormwater project going on there with a lot of stuff coming from places I think we've never seen water come from. Some of these pipes are probably original pipes up under the infrastructure. So it's been a pretty big ordeal that's been open. We've just about finished that up today, redressing that back up, moving that equipment out of the way, getting that eyesore off of Spring Street, getting it back right. Our sign and marketing division, those numbers are down. Steve was out the first part of that month, and we only repaired 6 signs for the month of January. Our building maintenance division completed 62 work orders throughout city properties for the month of January. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Jeremiah, when you referred to the grounds crew, you said something about stationing, or I didn't catch exactly.
Remote sites, they're starting to get a little grade up, some growth with the rain. They're starting to go out and cut at those
Cutting
areas.
street side, striped streets, so to say.
No, we hadn't started cutting the right of way yet. This is like the library,
Okay.
the water tanks, some of our parks, just various remote sites that they cut on a weekly basis.
But I know we discussed it a bit last fall, about doing the streets right away now.
Yes.
What's the status of that for this year? They've been getting close to springtime.
We are getting close to springtime, as we discussed back in August. There's going to be a crew in place, I hope, that's approved. I think it was approved for 2/3 of this budget year, so we're going to have fresh right-of-way crew, hopefully starting around the month of May. They'll be outfitted to cut our city right-of-ways with tractors as well as zero-turn mowers and weed eaters and whatever. Our goal is to be able to cut the entire city within a 2 to 3 week period. And with that additional man force, I think we'll be able to do that and keep it at a better, more pleasing to the eye state throughout the entire city.
And how about the equipment that's needed? Do we need to still purchase it?
There will be some equipment needed for that. It will be presented along about the same time as that crew is established.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chairman. Water, sewer, gas, and stormwater.
Thank you, Mayor. Looking at the numbers, it looks like the month of January, we processed about 70 million gallons of water, which is fairly consistent with the other months throughout the end of last year. On the water distribution side, our service calls and work orders were up approximately 50%, which could be due to fewer or more colder days, actually. Logan had mentioned the new water customers that we'd actually added recently. To get down to the wastewater treatment plant, the numbers were actually down just a little bit from November and December at 71 million gallons treated. On the wastewater side, you can actually reference back to January of, I guess it would be 15 versus January of 16. Work orders are actually down, just being colder months. Wastewater work orders are going to be lower. If you look at the natural gas numbers, sales at 32,000 MCFs are far down from last year in January just because our winter hadn't been quite as cold, so we hadn't sold as many MCFs of gas. Work orders are up just based on colder weather because you tend to get more calls the more gas you actually use. Stormwater stayed fairly consistent from the months of November and December. And the training academy, they held, looks like a total of 3 classes with 18 attendees. If you'll compare that to January of last year, you'll notice the drop in both of those months, simply because that's usually the month that class registrations, licenses are being renewed. So that's kind of a housekeeping month for the training center. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. That ends our department reports. We'll move into committee information. Does finance have anything?
We don't, Mayor.
All right, airport.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First, we're going to invite Mr. Fussell to come up and just briefly give us an overview of the minutes from the February 10th meeting.
I do not have a copy.
Okay.
I'm sorry for that.
That's all right.
But as a normal address to the council, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a really sad time at the airport with our untimely loss of our good friend and commission member, John Rayner. Barbara, Naomi, and Johnny are grateful for the many condolences and the understanding that the council provided in this very difficult time. John's family is beginning to move forward in seeking a buyer for Air Devil Aviation. The commission is working with the family to help them find an appropriate buyer that will take care of the airport and serve it as well as John did. John was an integral part of our operations planning and vision, and he will be greatly missed by the commission, the flight family, and the many customers that he served and met in Monroe on a daily basis. Today, we begin the process of selecting the consulting engineer for the next 5 years. For the next 5-year contract, we had 3 highly qualified firms submit RFQs. That process is ongoing at this time, and we will have a recommendation for you within 10 days. Okay. Current fuel status is we have 3,200 gallons at this point in time. With good flying weather, we should be receiving the refuel in April. That's it from the commission. I'm happy to take your questions at this time.
Thank you, Larry. With John's passing, we need to fill his seat on the airport commission, and I'm gonna looking to entertain a motion that we appoint Mr. Daniel Nugent. He was the one that was brought forth. Matthew, you might shed a little light on it.
Thank you, Mr. Purvis. Dan is highly involved with the gliders out at the airport. And like Mr. Purvis said, he's the only name that's been brought before the commission and the committee at this time. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'm making a motion that we appoint Daniel Nugent to the airport commission.
Okay.
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then Matthew, you're gonna,
I'll take the events. Seeking approval through the committee to recommend to council an expense of $1,185 to complete the fence out at the airport. This is again one of the 95-5 matches, so again 90% federal money, 5% state, and then of course 5% local, and that 5% is $1,185. This is one of the items that was on the airport capital improvements plan for 2016. We have it budgeted at $2,000, so we came in just under budget, $1,185. So seeking that approval tonight.
And that completes the fence.
I was gonna say,
They
it's
will-
like we talked.
The airport will be, well, you know, the reason we did it this way, that the total project to complete this was $25,000. So it took a little longer to vet the grant process, I guess you'd say, but it's worth it. It's only costing us $1,100 versus the $25. But yes, to answer your question, we'll complete the fence around the airport and it'll be completely soon.
so I'll entertain the motion that we approve the $1,185 to be spent on the fence.
So moved.
Get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh-huh.
Opposed? Motion passes. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Public Works.
Mayor, we have a couple of items. One is we've got the Great American Cleanup coming up soon, and get Mr. Smith to tell us about what they're gonna do out there at the transfer station.
Okay, Mr. Bradley, yeah, we requested this week, be designated for the Great American Cleanup Week. And we basically allowed city residents inside city limits to bring all the items out to the transfer station, and we will not charge them. They're allowed to bring metal, tires, tin is the limit. Good opportunity, you know, do some spring cleaning and get rid of some stuff.
Okay. And then I think I'm gonna ask Ms. Crosby if she'd step up and tell us from a ED standpoint what we're doing. Also, we've cleaned up the city.
Yeah, this does connect to economic development with the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, the GIC team that just went to a retreat last week in Dublin, Georgia. One of the main goals and takeaways, which I'll tell you more about in just a minute, was to help coordinate and initiate neighborhood cleanups. And so we're going to try to partner with the Great American Cleanup to do some of these in the neighborhoods, and we'll help promote that through our channels of communication when it comes to events and tourism, to get as many people as possible taking pride in the city and just cleaning up the streets, gathering tires. We'll try to make it a competition between groups and just make the most of it. We'd like to build on it so that this can be an opportunity for people just to show their neighborhood pride in the future.
Thank you. Any questions on cleaning up? We also have an item on here to purchase a heavy-duty lift for the shop.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Before we get into the specifics about the the lift and transmission jack, I'd like to take a minute to plug our fleet maintenance division and the work they do. They're throughout our entire city. We service both preventative and corrective maintenance in that shop for all the fleet, from the fire trucks, patrol cars, utilities, our own stuff, restricted transportation, solid waste. Each division there throughout the city comes to that shop, and we save piles of money every year by doing stuff in-house, which leads to this request. One thing we hadn't been able to do to this point is efficiently lift and service a lot of our utility trucks, a lot of our trash trucks, and that's where I come tonight seeking approval to buy or to purchase 4 earth lifts and a transmission jack from Sterling. These earth lifts are something to be seen. If you've never seen them, hopefully after we get them approved, y'all can come out and look at them later. It's an amazing lift. It's a mobile unit to which you can move each pedestal to a desired location, and basically if you're on a somewhat level surface, you can lift up to 89,000 pounds, which covers every piece of equipment in the city with the exception of our ladder truck. And speaking with the Sterling County rep, he thinks those 4 will pick up the fire truck. I told him, I said, if we did, it would be on your dime instead of the city's. I didn't want to test it right there. But they are an extremely strong unit. But the selling point for me was being able to move those units from one bay to the next, not tie up one specific bay with an in-ground lift. The versatility of those, being able to use them indoors as well as outdoors at our facility, will enable us to get up under these larger vehicles and service and provide a better service, more efficient service in-house rather than having to send some of the stuff out to be done. We've never been able to do this. I'm looking forward to getting this into the shop to make our shop more advanced and more efficient. So I'm seeking the approval of this lift and transmission jack at $49,266 from Sterling County, and that's through the NJPA program on those contracts. And I'll be glad to take any questions regarding that.
Do you all have someone that work on transmission?
We do.
And how we're paying for this?
This is going to be funded through our CIP, and it's actually going to be split between electric and telecom and solid waste, as those 2 divisions will be the primary beneficiaries from this piece of equipment.
And from the electric and telecom department, I'm all for this. When one of my trucks is down, if you have anywhere from 1 to 3 guys looking for something to do, and the speed of getting them back with these guys being able to work on this is huge for me.
Any questions from the committee? Do I hear a motion that we submit this to the council next week for approval?
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
A motion, do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We'll submit that to the council next week. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Utilities.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Thompson, you want to tell us about this sales agent agreement?
Yes, sir, Mr. Little. One of the things y'all put us forward with us in the meeting back in August was we needed to market our services in a little better way. And another thing is our product, our telecom product, has matured to a level that we needed a better sales agent agreement. So what I've done, well, actually me and my staff and Logan and some of his staff have gone out to Comcast and Broad River, some large telecom companies, and took their agent sales agreement. What an agent is a contracted company that goes out and sells your product. And what we've come up with is this agreement. We'll have three levels of agents. One is a referral, be a small company. I've used several small computer companies as an example. If they refer someone to us, we'll have a form for them to refer them to us. If the customer stays in good standing for 90 days, they'll get a percentage of the 1 month's revenue. You'll have a standard agent, or the middle of the road agent, that has the ability to, if you look on addendum B in the agreement, it shows out the payouts of what that agent would do. And then you have a premium agent, which is an agent that handles large companies like the hospital, and the hospital is the big one, but Leggett & Platt's another huge one. Somebody that handles their internal phone systems and gives more value added to the customer that we don't have to provide. This did get returned back from the attorneys yesterday, so it's been changed a little bit from what it was. So it is approved by them, and I will take any questions you may have.
I was just looking, and I would ask the attorney, I see you have liability insurance provided.
Yes.
Is there any possibility that a contractor acting as an agent can have a workman's comp claim?
No, the agreement specifically delineates that the relationship is an independent contractor relationship, and specifically requires the agent to carry their own work comp coverage to the extent that they need it. It's further up, it's not under the liability insurance section, but it's further up in the scope of the relationship.
But it requires them to carry it.
It does.
Yeah.
Would we expect people to, once they know that we've got this agreement, to contact us and say they want to be agents?
That could happen.
Or do we have people identified?
There's people identified already. There's a couple of small telecommunications companies. There's one we're actually working with now. But there's also a bunch of small computer repair shops that we're going to reach out to. And the way, as long as they meet these items that are in this agreement, anybody that's available to any agent. But yes, we will be reaching out to some smaller people that we are aware that are in place, especially for referrals, because that's an easy agent to be.
Are there any other questions? All those in favor of recommending this to full council for passage? Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I recommend that to full council.
Thank you.
Seems like that's all we have, Mayor.
Thank you. Public safety,
We don't have anything, Mayor.
economic development.
We have a number of things tonight with economic development, which I'm really excited to share with you guys. First thing I wanted to mention is that the CBB put together a wedding and events magazine for Monroe and for our vendors and events that we have here. So this is completed now. This was completely paid for through advertising. So our vendors basically came together and made this possible. So I'm going to have a stack of these over here. Feel free to grab them if you're interested. If you know anyone getting married, please take it and pass it along to them. But this is to help boost our tourism. We'll hope this will have a couple of years of shelf life and continue to get the word out of the wonderful venues that we have in Monroe. It's one of the great ways that we bring people from outside of our county here. So we're excited to continue promoting that. Just wanted to mention it. I passed these out. You should find this little sheet in your iPad. Go grab that. There's so many things, I didn't want to get them all lost here tonight. So just want to go over these. Like I mentioned earlier, we had the gift retreat last week in Dublin. We had 15 members of our team. Our team is over 20 people. We had 15 people go. We worked really hard and came up with some great things. I think it's the beginning of an effort that's going to take some really needed steps to handle the growth and deal with the housing that we have, the good and bad, and grow together. So what I listed here were the priorities that our team identified through our time together. And I'll just read them to you. Our first one is, we feel as a team we want to educate ourselves by going around, knowing the community, seeing the different kinds of housing we have, becoming aware of all the different kinds of living that is in Monroe. Because we realized while we were there, we all knew different things, and there was a lot more we could learn. We also want to educate ourselves on the code, ordinances, and procedures. We don't really know what complies and what doesn't, and so we're going to lean heavily on Patrick and try to learn together, use the See-Click-Fix tool, and help be voices in the community of this is what our codes can do. We have really great ordinances because you guys passed the zoning changes, and we have great tools. I think as citizens, we're trying to learn how to use those better, so our team wants to help with that. Then we also want to make sure that we are aware of the growth projections for our county, for this area of Metro Atlanta. There's a lot of industry that's located near us. A lot more will probably be coming. We're going to see a lot of growth over the next 10 to 20 years, and we want to be prepared for that so that we're not just reacting to it when it comes to housing. And then we also talk about potential city visits to other towns to kind of see some things that they've done well that would be neighboring to us. The second thing is we really want to begin a housing assessment where we take an inventory of what we really have. And go around, we have over 6,000 living units in Monroe, so that's a lot to take in and track and get that data, but we think we need it to make the best decisions. And we want to provide that to you as the council, as the elected officials, to say, okay, well, this is really what we have. This is where we need to go. So we're going to work with our interns, we're going to work with volunteers, we're going to work with UGA. They have collection processes through apps on Kindles and other tools that we can use to make it as simple as possible. And we're going to try to coordinate with public safety. Already we realize that fire has some mapping tools. There's things that we already have that we can try to work together and figure out the best way to do it. I already mentioned the coordinate cleanup days in neighborhoods to help public engagement, get more people connected to this effort. And then over time, identify the neighborhood leaders throughout the city that would be local voices to help us know what people need and also connect our efforts to citizens. And then lastly, just kind of create the brand identity of what is this effort, our mission statement, social media, just something that people can, when they see it, they'll go, oh yeah, that's what the city's doing to improve quality of life and housing in Monroe. Before I go to the next one, that's a lot of stuff. Any questions that you guys have about where we're headed? I mean, we're just the beginning of this. It's a 3-year process, and I'm excited about where we are right now. We have a long road ahead of us.
I was in Walton County Planning and Zoning office today and learned that the long-range use plan process will begin this year for the map to come out in 2017. So it's timely for in a lot of respects, because I know we talked about looking at our city plan.
And I have more in-depth notes from our time. I'd be happy to share those with all of you. I'll actually send that later this week so you can read through everything our committee talked through and looked at. Okay, well, we go to the next thing. CHIP stands for Community Home Investment Program. It's a program from DCA. They haven't funded it for a while, but they just made an announcement into January that they're going to fund it again. And so since we're a GIT community, we get an additional point in applying for this. So we're in the application process now, and it can be used for a number of different things. I just cut and paste this from DCA's website, but I italicized that one phrase in there because that's actually the one that we would apply for. It's the homeowner rehabilitation funding to eligible low-income and moderate-income households. It's basically a $300,000 grant that will be awarded to the city, and that could be used by owner-occupied, low-income qualified homeowners to rehabilitate their home. Usually you can do 7 to 8 homes with this. The grant writer that's helping us, she charges nothing for grant writing services. She gets paid if we get the grant. So that's the CHIP grant, and we would have a marketing process and get the word out and really try to help low-income owners of homes that just don't have the funds to make improvements to older homes. So we'll know later. It's due March 18th, so we'll know at least a month or so after that if the funds will be awarded or where we are. But that would be a great tool for our team to begin getting out in the community and helping these people that need help. Does anyone have any questions about the CHIP grant or anything more about that? The next page is all of our community team. They put together words that they thought were key to our effort and what we need to kind of think of and grab the heart of our mission as looking at housing. And I just put all those in, and it's a Wordle, you can use that online. It automatically generate an image, and this was one of the images that came from all the work words. I just wanted to share it with you to kind of see the heart of this team. I just love some of the language on here, and this is just a picture of the start of where we're headed. Small town community revitalization, and education, collaboration, and being responsible. So I wanted you guys to have a copy of that. And then the next page is the Downtown Development Community Impact Report from DCA. Monthly we turn in numbers for our events and businesses and renovations that happen in downtown. And we don't know all of those that happen, but the ones that we do know and come across our desk, we turn in those numbers. And this is the cumulative numbers for 2015. And it's very positive for growth in downtown. You'll see that there were 21 new businesses in 2015 that created 51 jobs in downtown. Some of those are relocating from other places in Monroe, but that's a sign of the economic vitality of that core of our city. So I wanted you guys to be able to see that. 41,000 people coming to our events is just unbelievable. But when it all adds up together, that's when people come through downtown every year. And the last thing I wanted to mention before I turn it over is we have hired a company to do a hotel feasibility study for the city. It's one of the big needs that we have, and oftentimes when we've approached hotels, large and small, they want data to support whether we could handle it or not. And I think we could, but I'm obviously not in the business of hotel feasibility studies. So we've contracted with the company who is, and we'll be excited to get that started in the next 3 weeks or so and bring results to everyone. And you can use that to hopefully attract lodging, which we need. And the last thing that we're going to do through economic development is wanted this team that's sitting behind me to come here tonight and share with you the Monroe Creative Campus design, which is going to be behind you. They have hard copies of it too, but if you want to flip the chairs, this is a master plan for the old Monroe Elementary School site. And they presented it to planning and zoning, to HPC, and to DDA, and they put a lot of time and work into it, and it's going to be having lots of eyes on it around the country. So wanted you all to know about it as well. So let me turn it over to Brian Hardman.
I'm Brian Hardman. I used to live here for about 6 years, and then I decided to go back to school after 10 years and pursue another master's, and that happens to be in Master's of Environmental Planning and Design. And of course, having been so involved in Monroe with various facets and boards, I could not help but to bring Monroe back into the studio. And so 2 of my classmates were all second years and graduating this May 13th. We all decided to embark on this new project, working with Bobby Carroll, the owner of the property, and just seeing what our backgrounds of graphic design, architecture, and historic preservation could do for the property. And so this, I'll let each of them introduce themselves, and then I'll begin the first part of the presentation, and we'll make this short.
I'm Matthew Narset, originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm an environmental planning and design program.
I'm Jenna Wargo, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, second year as well.
And so when this project began, it was more of a working on new different project. I guess I've been involved knowing about elementary school since 2007, and then moving here in 2008, there was more of a semester piece. And so when we looked at how we could do the project, we made several site visits to Monroe, drove around, looked at what currently was there, and just put our backgrounds together, what we have learned with our faculty, and then just also invited the community for input to discuss it. But, yeah. And so this is the logo we have created for the project. But yes, like I was saying, we did an inventory of the entire city, looking at parks, looking at government buildings, looking at walkability. The purple, which is representing a quarter of a mile, shows the walkability and what all that campus would touch with that 5 to 6 minute walk. We also looked at what other important sites, such as the mills, generate an identity plus part of the economy. Other schools such as Lane Street, the high school, Providence Tech, and so forth, and the parks future. So just look at all these different sites that we saw as resources to the community and valuable assets. And so we looked at the existing buildings, and then we also wanted to include the idea of a performance stage, because just having the Monroe Girls Youth Corps practice in the building next to Denton Hall, that just seemed most appropriate. And plus, it has a huge lawn, and the topography of the bowl shape of the land makes it very favorable to have an amphitheater style seating. So this image here will be represented all along the presentation in the lower right corner. As we go through the presentation, the buildings will be highlighted on it. And so we're going to breeze through the current conditions because we like to see you guys leave at a decent hour.
Right.
This is going to be a very long presentation.
I'm sorry, could you speak up a little bit louder?
Yeah, sorry. I'm a little more nasally than I like to be. Mother Nature is not taking kindness to my sinuses. But what I was saying earlier, we're going to go rather fast through the current conditions. Some of you may know about them, but we did do descriptions in our packet for the presentation. And we also looked at historic photographs to give us more of an idea of what was there before, from 1926 onward up to the present state. And I'll let you take that part over.
And so we started out this project by going to your guys' concert in the park, I believe it was in September, and essentially we wanted to get a feel for the city and citizens and what they would like to see happen within the city limits of Monroe, what isn't here that they would like. So that pretty much pointed us in a certain direction of how this site would certainly come about. So we tried to get a vast number of citizens from, I believe I was talking to 7-year-olds all the way up to 100. Age range is huge. So we really wanted to get a feel for what the city was missing. So a infill site, any site in general, is only as successful as its branding. If you think of any successful brands in Althea, you immediately have this picture and this idea about what it represents. So we really wanted to have that for this site. We did this by taking that lamp post that was the original 1928 lamp post on the site and turn that into our logo and the branding for this site. So we wanted to have this nod to the past, recognize the history of Monroe and this site, but also realizing the future that this site could have. So this whole design of the site, it has the idea of connectivity in mind. It's a 5-minute walk from here. We've done it 100 times, and we really wanted to focus on pedestrians on this site. It's very walkable. We wanted to really highlight that. So new use of buildings, I'm going to basically use really quickly. So Denton Hall is currently the oldest building on this site. It's the rock gym. We went to Loganville, looked at their rock gym and how they rehabilitated that and brought that back to life. They didn't really have much to bring back because it was in use when they decided to make it over into a reception hall. Our rock gym, unfortunately, is in the worst condition, but we are seeing this as another reception hall for Monroe. It could be for the residents on site. They can rent it out for parties, families, looking at this to be a public entity. This could be revenue generation. You guys can rent it out for events that are going on with the Green or Sky's the Limit for them. So the 47 Memorial Library, this we're looking at as the public input hub to begin with. This is where all the citizens in Monroe can go and really decide what they would like to see happen with the site, all the buildings. Once this site is completely finished, it can turn into a gallery space where this is a creative campus. We want to have artists here. They can have their work up for display in there. It can also work as a satellite museum for other guilds and whatever we have downtown. So cafeteria building, all hookups are there, we don't really want to change that. This could, potentially, it stays as a kitchen. It could be a place where you guys can sell hot dogs and hamburgers when you're having your concerts in this park out on the massive green. It can also, based off of the success of this site, if citizens come in, there's a lot of people living here, this could turn into a cafe or a restaurant for the people there. 756 classroom building, which is attached by the roof line. So this building, we're looking at this to be 7 to 8 one-story flats, and it ranging anywhere from 500 to 1,000 square feet. And if we go to the next slide, the blueprints for this, we don't really want to take away. This is a historic building by this year, so it is eligible for historic tax credits. And in order to get that, you have to maintain the classroom characteristics. So by doing this design, we still have the wide hallway, we still maintain the classroom sizes essentially. So the fifth grade building, this we're seeing, this will probably be one of the biggest upgrades. We're looking to have this have a second story on it. It's going to be a loft for artists. They can work on the downstairs, sleep upstairs. They'll have a porch overlooking the green. So living here, they would have to be aware that this is an active space that will be used often. So yes, the blueprint for this and the bottom left blueprint, there's actually enough space on this site based on the 6 sets on this. Some people don't like living in historical buildings. So this would be essentially a replica, just new construction, if there is a need for that. And then the main building, which is the biggest building on site, without a doubt, it will see the biggest change. We were looking at the 56 plans for this building. Originally had a courtyard in the middle of it. And we were trying to decide, in order to get the most sun into that courtyard space, what side or arm to lop off, because it was shaped as a U. So then we ended up looking at it, just essentially putting a whole brick through the building, taking out the center part, the offices, all that. We're maintaining the classroom buildings on either side. So this would be 8 one-story flats for 55 plus housing. And there's a bunch of incentives and funding to go along with that to help that. And this will essentially be the blueprints for those, each unit, I guess. This would be the main face of the site. This is probably one of the biggest things. This and the Memorial Library, this would be the big face, first thing you see coming from downtown. And this will be a massive linear green space. And then the 96 gym, by far in the best shape. It's all ready to go. Bobby finished all the electrical work on it. It's hooked up. It just needs a little cleaning up. We're looking at this to be an outdoor or indoor farmers market. Your guys' farmers market is only during the warm seasons. So this could be a possibility to have that going all year round. There's enough room. It could be a gym. It has a stage. We don't want to take anything away from its original use. It could be used just as it is. That would also house the public restrooms for the site. And then new construction is pretty much focused on the massive green space, a stage. We're looking at amphitheater seating along that bowl shape, sidewalks. A lot of people really were interested in cardio path. We did a lot of visits to Loganville. We looked at their stage and their handicap accessible ramps for their amphitheater seating.
All right, so this slide focuses on the 3 green spaces that we're proposing. The idea that campus green would be a flex space for the public and the views from that 5th grade wing. The main building, that linear green space would cut right through and provide the residents of the 55 plus housing with a nice lawn, and then behind the Memorial Library, a renovated courtyard for that space. So here's the possible shot of the 55-plus housing looking down at linear green space, as if you're on Bold Springs looking north. So the two wings to your right, and then the nice symmetrical plan for the green space. And this would be a shot between 55-plus housing is on the left and the international style flats on the right. Potential for string lights, a nice alleyway that would be more inviting to bring people in, and then leading to that cafe/restaurant area. We did a parking study just to make sure that all residents and visitors would have access to the site and be able to park their cars. And then here's a potential rendering for the whole site. The potential green technologies that we could use, green roofs, solar water heaters, we could even turbines on the roofs. There's a lot of roof square footage that could be utilized. And here on that, I'm sorry, could you go back? The flex green space in this rendering it's lacking the cardio pad, amphitheater, pavilion area, but just showing the fact that we're proposing so many different types of housing that little cluster of buildings, they're not outbuildings, those are potentially small, tiny houses for another type of living. If you have young couples or singles being interested in that. And the next slide is potential revenue for this project with construction costs omitted. And so without those estimates, this could bring in a ton of revenue through leasing and sales. And then potential phasing, whether or not we have startup capital. So we looked, we go to the next one. The potential tax credits and incentives we researched, and so here are credits research. And so before we end, I do want to mention, I think Brian was about to start with, we were selected to present this project at our National Planners Conference in Phoenix, the Circle. And so Monroe will be represented, and potential investors could be walking by our poster and get to talk to them. And also in the Georgia Landscape Magazine, our annual college publication, the College of Environmental Design, published in the Landscape Magazine, will have a 4 or 5 page spread, and that's distributed to thousands of alumni and businesses. And so this is the fourth of 4 various boards that we're presenting to the City of Monroe. So we have talked already to the Downtown Development Authority, the Planning Commission, and the Historic Preservation Commission. And mainly our goal was to let the city know this is something we've been working on. This is something that we just didn't say, it's a cool city and we don't really do anything other than it's just a cool city and research over here and there. But with all the different site visits, the investment of time and photographs and talking with people, this is what we've come up with. And of course it'd be great to have this implemented at some point soon, and that'd be wonderful. But even if it just begins the conversation of, wow, that's really cool, let me look at this aspect, work on that part, then hopefully that's where this conversation begins here in City Hall with the various boards. So we're just excited to be part of this, and we look forward to any feedback or thoughts. And actually, Jenna and I both have progressed with this project to do our practicum and thesis for graduation. I'm looking at how the Creative Campus can turn into a creative educational district, which could then be a template that other communities use throughout matching the creative arts and educational buildings.
I'm looking at infill development. Essentially, a lot of cities, they have made maps, they have selected sites where they want to incentivize and essentially get developers onto those sites and doing something about them. So that would be reused, looking at all sorts of funding and incentives that would pertain to this site in particular.
So it started out as just one idea, what can we do and what can we design for this parcels turned into now granite requirement exit reports. It's been great, it's been really nice. We thank you for your time hosting us, and wonderful. Sadie's been a great person to work with and a great person to listen to our concerns and thoughts and just bouncing back on ideas. So thank you all. Thanks for your time.
Did I understand you correctly that when you present in Phoenix, there will be potential investors there watching these presentations?
Yeah, it's a national conference. So there will be planners, landscape architects, design firms. It's the annual American Planning Association's annual conference. And next year will be in New York City. Last year was in Seattle. So we'll be presenting our poster, and right next to it where anyone passing by can say, tell me more about this. And so we'll have a lot of the graphics that you've seen here in this presentation will be on a 72 by 36, I think. 72 by 36 poster, which is kind of huge. So there'll be a lot of information detailing what the project entails. But yeah. So between that and then the publication, the real will stay in people's thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving to item discussion. We got a public hearing of rezone of 707 South Broad Street. Back.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I want to say before we get started is the applicant is actually the new owner. They closed on the property since the original owner made this application, so we'll have that corrected next week. It's Jamie Portman instead of Dwight Sheffield. 707 South Broad Street. They requested a rezone from R2 to B1, and the code recommendation and the recommendation of Planning and Zoning Commission is for approval. It's about half an acre. The use they want to put in there is a commercial antique store, and B1 zoning is the minimum and most restrictive. Commercial zoning that would allow that use. So if you have any questions pertaining to that, I'd be glad.
Is that currently a residence?
It is currently a residence, yes. One thing I wanted to mention too, I don't think I've mentioned before, but a lot of our mill district was originally zoned on our original zoning map as R2, which is multifamily residential, and it's covered by single-family residences. So I see it as a plus to move those multifamily zonings to business when they're on the corridor. This is on the corner of Norris Street and Broad Street, but it faces Broad Street. And just to reduce the amount of multifamily zoning in the city and increase the business zoning, I think is a plus. Any other questions? Yes, sir, thank you.
We got an application for beer and wine package sales, Quick Pick Food Market, resolution CDBG 2016.
Just very brief, Mayor, that's it. If you recall, we were not funded in 2015, so this is just a standard resolution as required to submit for 2016.
And we'll have a resolution for our Georgia Cities Week, which will be April 17th through the 23rd. Next, we got upcoming 3 appointments for the tree board.
Mayor, I'll just say something really brief about that. Obviously, 2 of them you'll see on here are staff members. Just recommending that those 2 staff members excuse me, be placed back on that tree board. And then we contacted Ms. Carol Bradley, and she is not interested in serving on the tree board anymore. She's stated that she's obviously very involved with the museum and wants to focus her efforts there. So we're still looking for nominations to serve on the tree board. So if we know anybody, then we can just submit those, either email them to me or I guess Patrick will be fine, or Beverly will be fine as well. So.
Okay. The Rowell right-of-way abandonment proposal.
Mayor, I'll briefly talk about this. Mr. Lee Rowell's here to discuss it as well. If you'll pull it up, and I believe Mike's going to show this as well. He's just requesting that we consider abandoning 1.418 acres of the old Double Springs Church Road. And just trying to square up the property there. And Mike, you scroll down to the picture. One more. There you go. If you want it.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, basically what we've been working on, this project started in 2010, prior to the 138 extension project. And basically what we've done is we've tried to lay out commercial paths that were conducive for future development. And as you can see, that red area shows the area in question for right-of-way abandonment. We met with DOT back during the construction of the 138 extension. They wanted to put a cul-de-sac farther down towards the right there, where the actual, if you're familiar with those barricade areas are currently, that's where they wanted to put the actual cul-de-sac. And so I went with Precision Engineering. We got them to push that cul-de-sac back to the left or right there to the right front edge of the Board of Education. And so what we're asking tonight is that the city would consider abandoning the current right-of-way that exists for the old Double Springs Church Road. And then what we're going to do is realign that property or swing that road up at a 45-degree angle, as you can see in the yellow there, to square up those properties and make them essentially more usable, if you will, from a commercial retail standpoint. And as you well know, that portion right there at the traffic light back to that entrance into the actual development itself has been terminated already. That road was ripped out. And we're asking that that other portion also be abandoned, which is the current road, and then we'll ultimately swing that road, as I said, at a 45-degree angle. So, any questions, comments?
I actually will mention, and Patrick and I have discussed this, per our development regulations, there has to be sufficient access for public safety personnel. And per this plan, will that suffice those requirements?
Well, it should be sufficient for that purpose if the realignment includes tying that road back in, the yellow portion into where the cul-de-sac is, maybe reconfiguring the cul-de-sac, which was more than likely put in as temporary, because we don't know what standards were used to install it, and I know it wasn't, for permanent use. But as long as we can get all the radiuses and all those streets to line up, and correct that so that it'll stand up to the traffic, then we should be able to get it squared away and meet up with our regulations.
And then the only other thing, I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be some utility relocations.
Correct.
Potentially.
I think Brian, you and I have spoken about that, as well as Rodney, about the...
Once we install the new line down, the 138 extension, that we can abandon that. The only thing being, we will have to, we have a fiber line that feeds the Board of Education that we'll have to relocate. That might take a little more time. I don't know what your timeline is.
Right, there's no real...
Okay, no rush.
No real rush there yet.
That is their main feed to the Board of Education. We'd have to relocate.
We don't worry about that.
Are you looking at relocating, Lee?
Pardon me?
Utilities that have to be relocated, is that something you're looking to do?
Yes, sir, that's correct. So it's going to entail water and power. There's actually a power line that runs right across that, is that right, Brian?
The power line will be, we plan on abandoning anyway, as part of the Charlotte Ryle project.
Right, that's right.
And I don't know if Walton EMC is in that area.
They're not. They don't make it up that far. They stop right at the cul-de-sac, the entrance to the Board of Education.
Right. And our agreement with DOT too is that we would take out that section of existing road. That would be our expense also at that point. So again, it's just to realign and square things up and make those properties usable.
Lee, I didn't figure the numbers on it, but I'm sure you did. The abandonment is just the red portion?
That's correct. That's right.
Okay, so if you're going to rededicate the yellow portion as road as well,
That
so
road
would
that
that
comes,
offset?
That's right. That road that comes down from the post office to the existing barricades at this point
Saratoga
is actually owned by us.
Right.
We have not deeded that to the city. So we knew that that was gonna happen. We had to give some time for DOT to kind of get their project finished, and then we go and realign that. So that's all that worked out.
So you're suggesting, once this is done, to deed to the city what's in Yellow Hill plus the strip that goes to the post office?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Item 7 is the Spring Street Enhancement Project Proposal.
Mayor, I'll touch briefly on that. Sam Serio with Keck & Wood is also here to present what is in the attachment. Mike, if you'll pull. If you recall, back in November, we placed on the CIP the Spring Street sidewalk project, and this is not through any kind of federal or state grant process. This is totally budgeted within the City of Monroe SPLOST funds, and Sam has so graciously put together this proposal. Right now, just for engineering, obviously that takes place first, and then I asked him to do just a quick before and after renderings. Some pictures are worth 1,000 words. But Sam, if you want to briefly touch on your proposal.
Sure. Yeah, so the beautiful part about what Matthew alluded to is that this is locally funded, meaning that we're not tied to all of the red tape that's involved with a federally funded project, similar to the North Broad and South Broad Street project. So the timeline here is really kind of as quickly as we can deliver it, and as quickly as the city's ready to build it, or sorry, to pay for a contract to build it. So in this scenario, what we had asked or been asked to do from Matthew is to really kind of take the same concept that's been implemented on South Broad Street and kind of mirror that over to Spring Street and create that vital connection on Spring Street. This project is about 1.38 miles or so, which is more than double the length of the North Broad Street project that's currently federally funded and which under development. And I've created kind of an internal, at our office, an internal challenge to our folks to deliver this project prior to as far as having this project ready to be constructed prior to the North Broad Street project, just to kind of give everybody an idea of how quickly local dollars can be implemented versus federally funded projects. So anyhow, so this is, the concept that we have here assumes that we're going to be making this more of a streetscape style project. I believe I provided Matthew, maybe it was presented at a planning retreat of some sort, where it was a sidewalk project only, originally anticipated. Matthew said, well, how about what if we make this more of an enhancement type project similar to South Broad Street? And that's kind of this picture here, this after picture depicts. And what I propose to do in the scope of our project is to go ahead and design it this way, the way that's on the after photo there. And then, depending on budget, add some of these other items like the brick pavers or the street trees and the lights. And so we can go ahead and design everything, plan for it, and then depending on when the bids come in, what the construction dollars are available, and we'll figure out how, what items of that can be built based on the budget, the city's budget. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sam, one question that was posed to me is, would we acquire enough right-of-way to implement the street trees, the street lighting?
Sure. Right now, we don't know what the right-of-way is because we haven't surveyed it. But just from looking at, for example, this photo right here, a lot of times you can look at the utility poles as kind of a rough idea of where the right-of-way is, the existing city right-of-way. Or in this case, it's DOT right-of-way. And so right now, it looks like the right-of-way is generous enough to where the amount of right-of-way that would be needed to be minimal.
We're just talking about going on one side of the street. Okay, we did that, but based on, I got in the tail end of the lighting situation. same standard as the South Broad?
That would be, yeah, correct. So what we would propose is similar to South Broad Street as far as lighting goes. Because this is on a DOT state route, this is their real estate, so to speak. So we kind of play by their rules as far as the lighting requirements. What we may be able to do is get some sort of design variance to not space the lighting as frequently as it is. It all depends on what the city wants. To see if they would allow us to not put the lighting as frequently as it currently is on South Broad Street. That would also save some dollars as far as construction budget, but ultimately DOT would have to approve that deviation from their standards.
And start and end point.
So the starting point would be, I guess if we're going from town outward, about 1,300 feet or so west of North Wayne Street, I believe. There's some existing sidewalk. We'd be connecting there and then taking that all the way to Bankers Boulevard. Just past the library.
Basically from the library to Bankers.
Right.
Does it cross and tie into Bankers, or does it stay opposite?
Right now, I mean, we could tie it in across. You know, there's not a signal. I don't believe there's a signal at Bankers.
No, there's
correct.
not.
So, in order for them to cross, you know, you don't want to give them the false impression that it's a safe place to cross. There's a few other crossing points where there are signals. We do plan on upgrading the signals to make them pedestrian friendly, where they have the timers and everything. We hadn't proposed to put a crossing.
No, I'm just trying. Is it tied in all the way to the development up there?
Well, correct. They're tied into the
Sidewalks that go down into the, basically that Paradise Shop.
Paradise
So
Shop.
It's been right on the road there. You know, they
Yeah.
asked-
Yeah, it's on the right side going out.
Gotcha.
Not on
Yeah.
the
So
Bankers
I
side of
mean,
the
you could
street.
walk from downtown to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, without having to
Fill the
cross
gap.
the street,
Yeah.
right.
It would fill the gap, correct.
Okay. That was my concern, if, you know, the lighting is gonna be the issue if we discussed, and I didn't know if DOT gave a variance to where you can put half as many as you need.
Well,
Do you have to do
Well,
any?
it depends on the, like, so this project's locally funded. So when the feds are paying for it, they want you to follow all their rules. If the locals are paying for it, there may be a little bit more room for negotiation, so to speak.
And we don't have to add the lights at all.
At all, right? Yeah.
Right. That's just, you know, to match the same setting that we provided there, you know, the city provided.
But as soon as you add one light, you're falling under their rules.
Well, if you're gonna light something, they have certain requirements on how many, they call them lumens, foot candles that you have on the sidewalk. So we've got to space them to where there's enough lights lighting the sidewalk that meets their requirements. So that's what we would try to get a variance from, because it is locally funded. I feel like there's at least some room for negotiation there. You have not because you asked not, is what I read.
Let me ask you a question. To get all that done, would you have to talk to DOT?
Absolutely.
To actually design it like that? To see what all they will or won't allow you to do?
Absolutely. So what we have to do is what's called a GDOT encroachment permit, which essentially, so in our proposal, the way I kind of phased out the timing of it is we would come with initial concept showing where we want to put sidewalk, where we want to put driveways, where we want to put driveways back, curb and gutter. All those things we'll present to GDOT on the very front end to get their blessing on the layout, and then progress it to what I call preliminary plans, which is, you know, maybe about 60% of the design work being done. Go back to GDOT and get their blessing again to make sure that as we, you know, this pretty picture that we have here, you know, now we've got to design it to make it look that pretty, but to make sure that they're on board with the design all the way through. So very much the city and DOT will be kept in the line, you know, kept in the loop all the way through. But they would ultimately have to approve it and issue what's called an encroachment permit for the city to construct this project in the right of way.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Sam.
Very good.
All right, we have one item requiring action. First reading of the speed zone ordinance. Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City of Monroe to adopt certain speed zone limits for the roads of the City of Monroe, to provide for certain school zone hour restrictions, speed limits, to authorize the use of speed detection devices within the city limits of the City of Monroe, provide procedures for implementation, enforcement, and for other purposes. The Mayor and Council of the City of Monroe, Georgia, hereby ordain as follows. Article 1, Section 1. Pursuant to OCGA 40-6-183, the City of Monroe hereby establishes the following speed zones
on the roads and streets located within the city limits of the city of Monroe, all is more fully detailed and outlined in Exhibit A attached here 2. Section 2 said speed zone and the speed limits, including the restrictions related to school zones, are hereby established based on an engineering and traffic investigation as prescribed by OCGA 40-6-183. Article 2, all ordinances and parts ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Article 3, this ordinance shall take effect upon the adoption and execution by the mayor and council. This constitutes the first reading, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Okay. No other business. We need a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Redshine, all in favor? Adjourn. Thank you very much.